This room is a dead end. You can't get out of it. Jake just walks out the door on the left, and the next second, he's popping back in through the door on the right. Even weirder? And get this, both doors swing exactly the same way. There's not even a tiny difference in how much they move. Jake's confused. He scratches his head trying to wrap his mind around it. Did I even leave just now? He figures he must be seeing things, so he tries a different direction. This time, he pushes open the right door and steps out, only to end up back in the room through the left door. And this time, he actually sees himself walking out the door. Now Jake's fully panicking. Then he pulls out the note with the lock code written on it. He carefully types the code into the combination lock, only to end up right back in this lousy room. Not giving up, he tries entering it a second time, but the result is exactly the same. By the third time he types the code, he's getting stubborn, but the outcome still doesn't change. This is like that ghost circle thing. He just keeps going in circles, stuck in the same spot, no matter how hard he tries to get out. But here's the thing. Every room in this building is different, and none of them are connected to each other. So how is he trapped in this loop? How on earth is he supposed to escape? Jake's stuck in this looping room, and it all starts with him fixing a combination lock. Jake's a locksmith. Once he connected the broken wires in that combination lock, the loop began. He freezes in place for a solid 5 seconds. Then, he gets an idea to escape. He yanks the left door open, wedges his tool bag in to keep it from closing, and marches straight forward. But he still winds up back in the room through the right door. Jake even starts running, faster, faster. They say if you break the speed of light, you can time travel. But he runs 999 times, and he can't even keep up with a cheetah, let alone break the speed of light. He's still just going in circles. Turns out that faster-than-light time travel thing is just a kid's tale. Jake's so worn out from running that his blood sugar drops. He grabs a carton of milk to drink and munches on some cookies to get his strength back. Even now, he still can't believe he's actually trapped in a loop. Jake clings to the thought that this has to be a hallucination. He grabs his snack bag and tosses it out the left door, only for the bag to fly back in through the right door and slap him right on the back. Okay, so this is real. No hallucination about it. Then Jake has another idea. He drops to the floor, stretches his arms out as far as they'll go, and tries to break through the loop, hoping to grab his own feet in front of him. But he's not Luffy from One Piece. His body can't stretch like rubber. He tries for ages, but it's no use. Jake collapses, lying on the floor, frantic. But after all these attempts, he starts to piece it together. This place feels like it's been hit by spatial folding. You know what spatial folding is? It's when a crazy, strong gravitational force warps space. Let me give you an example. Imagine a flat sheet of paper. If you walk from point A to point B, you'd take the straight line between them. But there's a faster way. Fold the paper so that point A and point B stick right together. That's spatial folding. No matter how Jake opens the doors to escape, he's always trapped in this room. And the reason? Spatial folding. You can think of this room as that flat sheet of paper. Those left and right doors are point A and point B. So here's probably how the loop works. A crazy strong gravitational force yanks point B right over to point A, causing the space to fold. That's why Jake can't stop looping. And when the combination lock got power again, that was the switch that kicked off the loop. So maybe that combination lock has its own gravitational pull. By now, Jake's almost desperate. How on earth is he supposed to break the loop? Could it be he's opening the doors the wrong way? He tosses his hat out the right door, and it immediately floats back in through the left. The loop's still going. Jake grabs a hammer and bangs on the wall. Thud, thud, thud. But not even a crack shows up. He takes out his tape measure, folds it into all sorts of shapes, and steps out, but he comes back in looking exactly the same. Jake's completely out of hope. Jake has been stuck in this room for 12 hours now. He uses his tape measure like a jump rope, flicks his utility knife open and shut to make a soundtrack, and gives up on trying to escape. He starts goofing around, dancing the robot in this looping space. But the anxiety in his chest doesn't ease up one bit. So Jake tries to break the loop for the nth time. He takes a deep breath, types the code into the lock, and opens the door. But he's still stuck in the loop. Jake snaps. He slams his hand down on the combination lock and breaks it. Great. Now both doors won't open. He doesn't have to loop anymore. He just has to sit here and wait to starve. But Jake still wants out. He pulls out his power drill, drills open the combination lock's cover, and reconnects the broken wires. The second the wires touch, a black rubber ball rumbles into the room. But when the wires come apart again, the black ball rumbles right back out, like nothing ever happened. What's going on here? Did the loop finally break? Jake tries connecting the wires again, and the next second, an electric orb bursts into the room. It crackles and sparks with a blinding light, humming with massive energy that tugs at him, pulling him closer. Jake snaps back to his senses, his legs going weak from fear. He yanks the wires apart in a panic, and the orb vanishes instantly. Jake realizes something unexpected happens every time he connects those wires. So he tries a third time. This time, several people burst in, a female nurse and 2 male orderlies carrying a stretcher. On the stretcher sits a rigid woman in black, like a witch, who doesn't move an inch. They push through the right door and exit through the left. No loop, no hesitation. Jake freezes for 2 seconds before it hits him. They didn't get trapped. Hope surges through him and he sprints for the door, but he's 2 seconds too late. The loop kicks back in, yanking him right back into the room. Jake slams his fist in frustration. He can't get out no matter what he does. He hurls his hat to the floor, then drops to his knees and cries. When the tears stop, he gives in to despair, curling up on the ground and wondering, why him? Before he knows it, he's drifted off to sleep. But somewhere else, in a dim, shadowy room, an electric orb glows. A small child climbs to their feet and walks out through the left door. The second that happens, Jake jolts awake. Could that kid be his younger self? We'll circle back to that later. Jake sits cross-legged on the floor, brainstorming other ways to break the loop. After a while, he decides to go back to the combination lock. After all, every strange event starts with it. He connects the wires a 4th time. Suddenly, a black sandstorm howls into the room. It rages for 5 seconds, then Jake lets go of the wires, and the room snaps back to normal. Jake connects the wires a 5th time. This time, someone bursts through the right door, and he looks exactly like Jake. By now, you can probably guess the pattern. Every time Jake connects the wires, he taps into the electric orb's energy. That energy creates gravity, warps space, and yanks people or things from other universes right into his room. The black rubber ball, the nurses, the sandstorm, they all showed up this way. Put simply, that tiny act of connecting wires links this room to the multiverse. You know the Marvel multiverse, right? Where there's a you in every universe? That kid we saw earlier? He's Jake, but from the universe where the electric orb lives. Jake and this doppelganger, let's call him Jake 2, stare at each other. Neither of them is particularly well-read, so multiverse means nothing to them. They just gape, confused, wondering how someone could look exactly like them. Jake 2 panics and bolts for the door, only to get stuck in the loop just like Jake did at first. But Jake 2 doesn't have Jake's grit. He doesn't even try to escape. Instead, he drops to his knees and wallows. Why me? He whimpers. What did I do to deserve this? I haven't even found someone to date yet. Before long, he curls up and falls asleep. Jake, though, keeps thinking, if connecting the wires just brings random stuff in and fixing the lock won't let me out, if I break it for good, he gets a bold idea. He uses his utility knife to slice open his collar, then tears his uniform shirt in 2. He ties the 2 pieces together, grabs Jake 2's carton of milk, and soaks the cloth in it, squeezing and rubbing it to make sure it's damp. Then he tosses it out the left door. Sure enough, it floats back in through the right. Jake ties one end of the cloth to the wires, then grabs the other end. He reaches out with his right hand and touches the wires. The next second, every wire in the room fries. The lights cut out, plunging everything into darkness, and the electric orb vanishes instantly. Here's why. With the wires destroyed, the orb had no power source. No power meant no gravity to warp space, and the loop finally broke. Jake passes out. Meanwhile, Jake 2 wakes up, panics at the side of the dark, broken room, and sprints out the right door into the blackness. 3 minutes later, Jake stirs. He pushes open the left door, and a beam of sunlight hits his face. He steps forward, walking toward the light, looking at it another way. When you're faced with setbacks and hardships, if you keep going and never give up, you'll eventually make your way to a brighter future. But if you choose to throw in the towel and give up, what waits for you might just be an even darker path ahead. This is the 2024 Director's Cut, adapted from a 3-day art performance called Circuit. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.